hello, here's my middle-aged man's face. I thought I'd do a pickups video. Brain fart then for a minute. I thought I'd do a pickups video. I do buy a lot of books quite regularly. And I thought I'd start sharing with you some of the things that I've grabbed. I tend not to go to second-hand bookshops. We don't really have any. There's one in the city that I live in, and it's very much university kind of orientated bookshop, a lot of academic stuff. And the gentleman that runs it, it's obviously not a big fan of trashy horror. So the majority of my book shopping is done online, and it has been since before lockdown. It's just I don't have a lot of opportunity to go to bookshops like what I remember when I was younger. Oh. And I do get through a lot of books. I don't really watch a lot of telly. It doesn't seem to interest me. I love movies. I watch a lot of movies. But telly really ain't my cup of tea. And I think people that know me and people that I work with, when I get in, it's, I'll sit down and put a Mozart record on and read a bit of Dickens. But it's it is so not that. I get in and put early 70s Alice Cooper records on and read a very violent Lawrence James novel or some such equal morally bankrupt pulp. Anyway, so this is what I've got over the past probably 2 weeks. I shall show you them and explain why. So first up is a bit of Wheatley. Now, I recently did a video on the Dennis Wheatley Library of the Occult, in which I featured this series of 70s Arrow covers, all featuring this young lady with a different element here. And I realised I didn't have a couple, and I had to get like half decent scans of them. So I wanted to fill the gaps in my collection. And if you look in the video, they're all like this, with this lady in this position and a slightly different thing here. And I just think they're really cool. This is another one I've grabbed, which is I adore Hamlin horrors from the late 70s, early 80s. And I know this isn't necessarily a horror, it's a story of bizarre passion, but it's kind of like, it looks spooky and gloomy enough to hold me interest. And it's about Poe, and I love Poe, even though he was a bit bonkers. So yeah, that was one I had to grab. Next is a couple of New English Library ones. That I don't really know. They just cropped up on another search. I don't know whether they're horror or pulp or like men's adventure kind of series thing. Not that you should categorise by gender, but it's a genre. So on the back it says like, while the city sleeps, the owl prowls. Alexander Lelbure is the owl, victim of a rare disorder called insomnolence. He wanders the streets stalking his prey, hangs out in all-night diners and never stays in one place long enough to cast a shadow. So it's New English Library. It seems daft enough to appeal to me. And I also grabbed The Owl 2. He never sleeps. That's why he's called the Owl. I do want to do a video on Peter Saxon because I think he's wonderful, even though it was loads of different people. And I realised I've got a couple of gaps in my Peter Saxon horror books collection. So that's one I've grabbed over the past couple of weeks. It says it's like a Rosemary's Baby type one. It's not one I've read before. It's not one I've got. So I'm looking forward to reading that. A bit of New English Library crime. This looks pretty cool. It's by the author of the £1 Million Bus Fare, which I'm going to look for very shortly. And it's just like London, 70s London, hard men and gangsters and crooked cops and contracts. And I love all that kind of stuff. Almost like the Sweeney and all that kind of era of policing and gangsters. It's very cool, and it really is my cup of tea. Then I grabbed, it's not in the best condition, but it was very cheap, and I was surprised how cheap it is. Gregory Douglas, The Nest. I've never read this. It's a chunker for a New English Library, and like I said, it's not in the best nick, but it's more of just a reader. I know it's been reprinted as part of the Paperbacks from Hell line, and anything that they reprint, I either pick their edition up, or if I can get an original cheaper just to have a read of, then I tend to grab that. So that was literally just a couple of quid, so I thought, well, I'll get it. They said it was a fairly poor condition copy. And by the same author, Gregory Douglas, this one came up as a suggestion. And he seems to be fairly well thought of, fairly highly regarded. So I thought, yeah, that's one I want to grab. Again, just a couple of quid. Last one is a bit of a grail of mine. It's one I saw a few years ago now, and I honestly thought it was a spoof. You know, like Scarfolk do stuff. I've used their... I used some of the record cover reproductions in my video about BBC sound effects records. And when I first saw this book, I just thought, yeah, it's got to be a spoof. It can't be real. But it is, and I found one, and I was really pleased because you can get it fairly easily in hardback, but it's medium expensive. It's about 20-25 quid. But the paperback is just almost impossible to find. So it said it was in fair condition. I think it's in actually quite good condition. I was really pleased. There we are. A Book of Charms and Changelings. And I just don't know. You know, the more you look at it, I think the more questions you've got. Yeah, that is Yoda as well. You've got Duck. She's got Lady Doll hands, kind of medieval hat. It's almost something like out of a sinister Nigel Neal TV play from the 70s that just freaks your brain out. Yeah, so the more I look at it, the more I'm like, don't know. What were they trying to achieve or do by that cover? So yeah, it's just a book of kind of folk tales about charms and changelings. The content isn't necessarily something that I'm like, yeah, I need that in my life. But the cover definitely is something I've wanted in my life for a long time. And as you can see, it's in. It's not brilliant, Nick. It got a little bend in the envelope. That happens, doesn't it? When you buy a book and it just comes in a little plastic bag and it gets bent by the post office, and it's got a blooming sticker on the back. I have to try and get that off. But it just bonkers. So yeah, that's what I've been buying over the past couple of weeks. I'll get another pile together. Some of these are going to be used in future videos. Some are just going to get stuck on my shelf and read. Obviously, I don't know what all my videos are going to be about yet. But if there's any you want me to review, then let me know. I'm probably going to do something about the Gregory Douglas, and maybe I want to do a men's adventure, men's fiction video with like the Butcher and the Penetrator and people like that. So I might drop the Owl in those as well. But in the meantime, that's me done. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.